partnership that Discovery Channel has had, or Discovery Network has had with Steven Spielberg and DreamWorks, which brought a lot of weight to the project, also created a tremendous amount of headaches for me. Some of the things that we wanted to achieve when we set out to do this, like I said, we wanted to tell a definitive story of the rebuilding. And what was most important to us is that we weren't telling the surface level story. We were telling the story from the eyes of the rebuilders, from the men and women that have been working for 10 years to actually clean up and rebuild this site. We covered all the major projects there, which no one else did. There were some shows on history and PBS, but no one covered everything as comprehensively as we did. We dedicated all 6 hours to telling the stories of Building 6, which is a complete nightmare for all of us in the production world, where there actually wouldn't be a finish to that building by the 10th anniversary. We did One World Trade Center. We did 2 hours on One World Trade Center. We did an episode on the museum. We did an episode on the hub. We did an episode on the rebuilding of the surrounding city, which I think is the untold story of the area. What happened to the neighborhood, and what are they doing to rebuild that neighborhood? And the episode you'll see tonight is the memorial episode. We also really wanted to celebrate the rebuilders. I don't think anyone has any idea, and I had no idea, how many people are working there, how hard they're working. In the last year or two, a lot of them work 7 days a week with very little break to get this site in the best possible shape for the 10th anniversary. So we set out to find the best characters, a lot of variety, from politicians to ironworkers to the concrete guys to the curators of the museum. The amount of people we looked at was staggering. We looked at over 200 people to include in the show. We had this crazy matrix of people that we were looking at filming. And eventually, in the last month or two, we whittled it down. This film was edited, which was very comfortable for all of us, right up until the last minute. We were delivering shows, which is also not normal for us. The day of, we had a production assistant who was coming down from New York on the train, bringing the tape in, and we were shoving it in the press box. Very old school. The other thing that I really wanted to do, as soon as I got down to the site, and I did tour the site with Steven Spielberg, which was completely surreal. But there's been a tremendous amount of negative press, and my preconceived notions of Ground Zero before I went there was that nothing's being done, and it's all caught bureaucratic BS, and there's no work being done. So right away we were blown away, and we wanted to shine a light on the good. It became very apparent very quickly that we needed to debunk what this whole nation thought about what was going on down there. Some of the things people don't know is that site was 7 stories deep, full of rubble. I don't think anyone has a comprehension of what that is to clean up, and that alone can take years to clean up. A lot of people don't know that the bathtub that surrounding Ground Zero was nearly fractured and had it fractured all of Lower Manhattan when it flooded. There's a lot of things that people don't know that we quickly found out. We realized that we needed to tell the story of the really amazing things being done there, and not focus on the negative press or the political. We wanted to capture the emotion and the ingenuity. The emotion was, as you can imagine, was palpable. You couldn't avoid it, but that also became a problem for us. In telling the story of building a skyscraper unlike any other in the world, how do you then cut to emotion? So there's a push and pull that it was very difficult for us, but we had to get it. The other thing that was important to me was that we don't show the planes hitting the towers. I felt like we'd all seen these images, we'd all seen the jumpers, we'd seen it all. It's time to move forward. It's time to tell that story of what happened that day, but not just sensationalize the show and make it sensational. And some of the challenges for us, as I said, were finding the right balance between emotion and construction. You'll see in this episode the memorial where they're building the memorial pools and the exact footprint of where the World Trade Centers were. But what they're also doing is building the largest water feature in the world. There's an amazing amount of engineering that goes into that. We had far too many stories. It was a nightmare to figure out which stories to use, which survivor stories to use, which engineering stories to use. I mean, it's a good problem, but a problem nonetheless. Port Authority, the access to Port Authority was a complete nightmare. tremendous amount of paranoia from their standpoint that we were going to expose or, doing a 60 minutes expose on how little had been done. So it took a lot of fostering that relationship to get them to understand that we wanted to celebrate. As I said, DreamWorks was very helpful, but also very difficult, getting notes from Steven Spielberg from his boat in Greece without internet. That's an interesting day. And then the deadline to 9/11, because so much was being done in the last few months, in the mad scramble to get ready for the event that was held there with Obama. We had a lot of the concept that we knew was going to end every show happening in the 2 months before, which was just really, really hard for us to turn around. I think, and before I go over the show, I think what was cool for me personally in telling this rebuilding story is that I wasn't in the United States on 9/11. It was actually the first day of my honeymoon. And having watched, all that go down from a hotel in Mexico, I realized after watching, my 400th cut of one of these shows that this was my small contribution to rebuilding. And that was kind of my aha moment. That's what made me feel really good about this series. I'm incredibly proud of where we came, where we ended up. We have 6 phenomenal hours. Some are more emotional than others. This is one of the more emotional episodes. So if you're more inclined to engineering type shows, the One World Trade Center shows are much more patriotic and impressive. I will say that if this is not the best series that I've ever worked on, it's definitely the most important. I had very low expectations in terms of the ratings. We're in a very, very much a ratings world. But this show actually exceeded all ratings expectations. And I'm proud. That's kind of icing on the cake for me. If I hadn't rated, I still would be incredibly proud of this show. What you're about to see is the memorial episode. It's the 2 pools that were built in the footprint of the World Trade Centers. And it's an incredible story, very touching. Hopefully, you guys will have a chance to watch some of the other 5 hours.